Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the UNC Hoops Talk podcast, the podcast for the fans by a fan. Excited because we finally have real games that count to talk about, and got another diehard Tar Heel fan here. Add a little bit of female voice to the podcast. It's been a while for that, but more importantly than that, just a diehard fan. We got Megan Arrington. Megan, so glad to have you here, and just go ahead, tell Tar Heel Nation about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Megan Arrington. I'm from Waynesville, North Carolina, over in the western part of the state. But I'm currently living in Asheville. Graduated from Morrisville University, a small Division II school. Played softball there. Graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration. Now I'm working as a product marketing manager in the area. But yeah, I'm a die-hard Tar Heel fan. Get that after my dad, I guess. Love all the Carolina sports, especially basketball. So that's my number one.
And I was going to mention, but we'll make sure, and it'll be in the description below, but you can follow her on Twitter at @marrington12, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're just glad everybody is listening, joining in the podcast, and joining in the talk to unite Tar Heel Nation, and starting the season off here, 3-0. Everybody knows that already, but we're going to jump right into the games, kind of quickly recap the 3 games that we've played so far, look ahead to the games we have this weekend and the beginning of next week, Thanksgiving week. And so let's jump right in. We played Tulane. Let's see, it was, what day was our first game? I'm blanking what day it was. On Friday, right? Last Friday?
Yeah, Friday, I think.
So ended up with a pretty easy 95-75 win. Throwing out a few stats from that game. Joel Berry, Justin Jackson both having career highs. Joel Berry with 23, Justin Jackson with 27. Both hit 4 3-pointers. Kennedy Meeks had 15 rebounds. He was 1 point off a double-double. Tony Bradley started off his career with 10 points, 5 rebounds for us. Isaiah Hicks, 16 points. Maybe more importantly, didn't foul out, only 3 fouls. So what are your kind of overall thoughts on the Tulane game, Megan?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we played well. We started off the season on the road, which most top 10 teams didn't. So that was, a little different. But yeah, Joel Berry and Justin Jackson were just dominant. They were huge that game and really showed their leadership on the floor. Kenny Williams got the start over Britt, which I thought was a little surprising, but I liked the move. At the time, I liked the move. And I thought it was an overall good game. Tony Bradley continues to impress me.
He's quickly becoming probably my favorite player.
Yeah.
I mean, we know how important Joel is, and he's kind of setting the tone. But, I mean, I know we've talked about it on Twitter already, but I love watching Tony Bradley play.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a good player. He already is a good player, but, with the more experience and the more games he gets in, he's going to be a heck of a player and be able to help our team a lot.
Yeah, so you mentioned Kenny Williams starting is the first, the opener or whatever. We'll get into a little bit later. Nate Britt started the next 2. So, we can talk a little bit about what's going on there. But just a couple of thoughts I had about the Tulane game is I thought we let them score too many points. It was at their place, even though they were the ones wearing Carolina blue, which is a little weird. But they started hot from the 3-point line and were shooting the ball pretty well. But defensively, I thought we let them score too much for the quality of team they are compared to us. Again, talking about the Kenny Williams starting over Nate Britt and switching whatever. I mean, to me, Nate Britt is just kind of underrated, not necessarily for the stats he puts up, but just for always accepting his role. Like, I mean, we've never heard any problems of, Nate Britt questioning his role or anything like that. He just kind of goes with the flow, accepts it. And that's, especially in today's game, one and dones and all that stuff, it's undervalued to have a guy like that on our team.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a true team player, and I think that his teammates like having him out there. I don't think that they don't trust him. I think they trust him out there. They like having him out there. He's just overall a pretty good team player.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know. Wrapping up Tulane, we shot from the 3-point line. We shot 45%. So if we can continue that, I don't think we can expect Justin and Joel to each hit 4 3-pointers each game. But if we can shoot,
hope.
yeah. Well, I think we've already proven in the next 2 games that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But, if we can stick around, 35 to 45% from the 3-point line, and we shot almost 50% from the field goal, or just from the field. So if we can stick anywhere close to that, I think we're going to be okay offensively, and defensively, I think we improved in the following 2 games from this game. But any closing remarks on Tulane there? Or are you ready to move on?
We can go ahead.
All right. So next up, let's see. That was Friday night, and so it was Sunday afternoon. We played Chattanooga. I actually missed this game. I was on a quick getaway in Boston and did not catch this game. I saw it later on DVR, but what were your initial overall thoughts watching the Chattanooga game?
I mean, first off, Chattanooga is a good team. They had a good season last year. They were returning all their starters. They just beat Tennessee by 13, so by double digits.
In Knoxville as well.
Right, yeah, at Tennessee. So we kind of knew that they were going to be good, and I think Roy kind of got that into our guys' heads as well. But yeah, I mean, I think we scored a lot. Obviously, Joel Berry continues to be dominant. I think he scored 18 that game. Britt got the start, but Kenny Williams came off the bench and really impressed me. I mean, he had 11 points and like 6 assists and a lot of rebounds, and he just went after it. I mean, he dove on the floor and really showed his hustle, and that's really great to see. So I really like that too.
So I don't know how much you watch like post game, the press conferences and interviews with players. I get a little too carried away with that and watch a lot of those. But Roy Williams actually called Kenny Williams' stat line a Danny Green-like game.
Yeah, I did see that.
With 11, I think it was 11 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, or maybe that's switched around one of those. But so that's coming off the bench. We already, hit on Britt starting. So you said when Kenny Williams started that first game, you liked that move. What do you feel now after a performance like this, him coming off the bench?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he showed that he can come off the bench, and he might provide that spark off the bench that we need to post to him starting. I think that Roy's going to continue to play with it a little bit, but I mean, we obviously know that he can provide that little spark coming off.
Right, and of course, this is all going to change once Theo, or if Theo can come back. Hopefully he can, but we know Theo will more than likely take that starting point. But a lot of people on Twitter are saying, Kenny needs to be starting. Kenny needs to be starting. But like you said, I think that he's that spark, kind of like Theo was last year, that spark coming off the bench, diving on the floor, all the stuff you said about him. And Nate's never going to provide us with a lot of, firepower, a lot of offense. It's not his role, and he's accepting his role. But the Tulane game coming off the bench, he had, I think only 1 point, but he had 5 assists to 0 turnovers.
Right.
And the defense that he can provide, he doesn't have to show it as much this year. I think with the role Joel is picking up, guarding the other point guard 94 feet. But just to have another defensive guy in there, and then somebody to ignite the scoring with the guys coming off the bench. I think it's a great move having Kenny come off the bench there.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I think it's the right move until we get Theo back, which again, obviously he's still there then to take that or make that that spark. So quickly, a few other stats from the Chattanooga game. You said Joel Berry, 18 points. Kennedy Meeks, 14 points, 12 rebounds. I believe this is the game after he got kind of called out by Roy. Roy was kind of on him after the first game and came back with a double-double. Isaiah Hicks, 13. Justin Jackson struggled shooting a little bit, but 10 points, 5 assists with no turnovers for Justin in this game. Tony Bradley continuing to be really strong. I don't think I'll stop talking about him all season, but 12 points, 8 rebounds in this game, and 7 of those 8 rebounds were offensive rebounds. And then Kenny Williams, as we mentioned his stats already. And we haven't even mentioned Brandon Robinson, 7th Woods. In this game, Brandon had 5 points, 7th had 6 points. If we can get 10 to 15 points out of those two guys every game, I mean, that's going to be huge for us.
I agree.
All right. So anything left to be said for this Chattanooga game?
I don't think so.
I think you hit most of it when you said, they're returning everybody. It's not going to show. I don't know that we even mentioned the score. We won, 97 to 57. So yeah, 40 points. It's not going to show up in the score, but I mean, this is a good team. They have a good shot at making the tournament again.
Right.
And yeah, we play Tennessee later, so them going into Knoxville and beating them by 13. Hopefully, we don't take it easy on Tennessee, but that should be a fun game for us. I guess the last thing I'll mention about Chattanooga, Kennedy Meeks did with his double-double. He broke 1,000 points, becoming I think it was 73rd Tar Heel to break 1,000 points in his career. And then the last thing I have here was watching it later, and I think people were even saying it before I watched it, but defensively, we went for way too many shot fakes and blocks. There was a lot of guys just jumping, and the score probably has something to do with that. You want to get that highlight block or whatever, but defensively, we got to make sure we're not just jumping at every fake and going for the block. But probably enough about a 40-point win over Chattanooga at home. So that was Sunday afternoon. We came back again with our third game in 7 days, 6 days, something like that. And another quality mid-major team coming into Chapel Hill and Long Beach State. Couple of quick stats. Kennedy Meeks, 15 points, 7 rebounds. Justin Jackson rebounded a little bit in this game, literally and figuratively, with 14 points and 10 rebounds. Get his first double-double of the year. Joel Berry continues to play outstanding, another 23-point game. I believe I saw he's averaging over 21 points for the season so far. Tony Bradley, again, 10 points, 5 rebounds in this one. Nate Britt, since we've been talking about him so much, 7 points in this one. Brandon Robinson got quite a few minutes in this one, gave us 7 points off the bench. And Isaiah Hicks struggled a little bit, 8 points in this one. But still has not fouled out of the game. So I guess that's a positive to look for. What do you got about the Long Beach State game?
I mean, this is the one that we jumped on them really quick. I mean, we were in double digits before they had even scored. So obviously, that's pretty good. I thought the second half we kind of looked like that. We looked like the team that has played 3 games in about 7 days. I think we looked a little tired, but rightfully so. I thought the 3 freshmen, the Tony, Brandon, 7th trio, I think they got a lot of minutes together. So that was good. It kind of allowed them to work on what they needed to work on. I still don't think that we've seen the 7th Woods that everyone has been hyped up about. But I think he's there. I think he just needs the minutes. I think he needs more of the experience, and that he will be that player. But I think he sees the floor very well. He gets those assists. And I think Brandon Robinson also kind of provides that spark off the bench. What you were saying, if they can both put in, 10 to 15 points between them a game, that would be huge for us.
Yes. You said something there. The score. I don't think I even mentioned the score. But, yeah, like you said, I think we had 12 or 14 points before they even scored. But 93 to 67, we just kind of never looked back once we got going, and it was never really even close. Speaking of that, though, that's something we haven't talked about this year. In years past, last even few years, there's these beginning games we would expect a blowout, and we'd get a 20-point lead, and it'd get down to 9-10 points, and we're like, what's going on here? Why are we blowing the lead? That hasn't happened this year. What do you contribute that to? Anything?
I don't really know, but it's kind of taken me off guard in a good way. I mean,
We're definitely not used to this as Tar Heel
Right.
fans.
Yeah. So I haven't had to sweat it out as much as I have in the past so far. But yeah, I just think that they're just going all out, and you can really tell the hustle when you watch them. I think they just kind of want to lay it on them and not let up, and it's obviously working.
To me, I think the biggest difference is, and this is obviously no knock on Marcus Page, Bryce Johnson, but this is obviously Joel Berry's team.
Oh yeah.
We've talked about how we're following him, but I think it's just his competitiveness and his, for a word we've heard in the past couple of years, intensity level that just carries us. And Roy in the past couple of years and all his press conference or post game press conferences is always, we got to maintain the intensity. We got to pick up the intensity. We haven't heard that word yet from Roy this year. So I probably can't give Joel all the credit, but a big portion of it, I think, is the leadership that Joel is taking on, whether it's vocal or just by example.
Right.
It's been talked about a lot, but to me, looking from the outside is the only difference I can see. And so, yeah, like you said, it's a nice surprise or difference that we've had this year as opposed to last year.
Definitely.
All right, before we go into previewing the Hawaii game, Maui Invitational, I don't know, a new little segment or watch on the podcast is becoming the biscuits drought. So I didn't even really think about it. We did score over 100 in the exhibition this year, but exhibitions do not count for the students or North Carolina locals to get the discounted biscuits. And so our biscuit drought is now over a season, almost 2 seasons old. Last time we scored over 100 in a regular season game was December 7th in 2014. It was against ECU. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this. I don't know. I mean, obviously this team has the firepower. We can do it. As we get into ACC play, it becomes a lot harder to do. And I believe the rule, it has to be scored at home. Do you know the exact rules in that?
I would say so. I would say it's at home.
So our chances may be dwindling here as we go. We're at Hawaii here for the next week, and we go to Indiana. So it may have to be a lower level ACC team if it's going to happen this year. But we're going to keep our eye on this on the podcast. See when the next time we can get biscuits for the students and the locals there in North Carolina. And then one other question I was going to ask you. I meant to ask you this as you introduced yourself, but the people listening to the podcast know I just watched the national championship game for the first time. It's been probably 2 weeks now, a week and a half. Have you watched the national championship game since it was played in April?
I have not, and I don't think I'll ever be able to. It was a pretty heartbreaking loss. I was actually in Chapel Hill for it. I took off work, went down to Chapel Hill, was on Franklin Street.
Ready to rush Franklin Street.
Yeah, I was ready. We were ready. So, and that buzzer beater shot it was soul draining. And I think it just drained everyone, in the bar I was at and, everyone on Chapel Hill, in Chapel Hill. So, I don't think I would get any satisfaction out of watching it over again. Cause I know the outcome, so I don't really think it'll do me any good.
I was very close to shutting it off before the shot happened, just because I have seen that before without even watching the game. It's all over the place, but I feel like it did help me a little bit just to watch the game, but it was still very hard to watch. So, all right, let's move into upcoming games. Hawaii. Are you going to watch this Hawaii game, Megan?
Well, from what I understand, it's not going to be televised, or at least not going to be televised on anything that I get. So that's kind of disappointing, unless you understand differently.
Well, I found an article here from Carolina basketball. If you have Time Warner cable, is about the only chance you really have to watch it on TV. So this is the link that I got from GoHeels.com. And if you don't know, if you don't know the schedule, we play Hawaii. It's 8 p.m. local in Honolulu, which if you're living in North Carolina or in the Eastern time zone, it's 1 a.m. on Saturday morning. So even though the schedule says Friday, it'll be Saturday for anybody pretty much in the States. But it's televised on Time Warner Cable, and it's being carried by, and I don't have Time Warner Cable, so I don't know what all this means or whatever, but Time Warner Cable Sports Channel in North Carolina and South Carolina, which is channels either 77 or 323, if you have the right package, I guess. This is not the starter TV package.
Yeah.
Will not be available on satellite TV or Watch ESPN, which has saved us so many times in the past. So no Watch ESPN for us. It looks like the only streaming possibility says it will be available through bigwest.tv. So I think it's the conference's website, maybe streaming it. So and then it's on the Time Warner Cable TV app in home only. So again, if you have that, I don't know why you'd watch it on the app and not TV, but and then there's replays as well on Time Warner Cable. But I will put this link in the description of this podcast and video for anybody that has Time Warner Cable. But yeah, I don't know if I'm even going to stay up to try to stream this game. I don't know if you have other thoughts after hearing all of that, but
I mean, if it was on TV, I'd be all about it. I could do it. I could stay up, or at least try to stay up till halftime. But you know, it's not looking too promising. So I don't know about all that.
Yeah, and Hawaii, again, we've said this. We've played not a killer schedule up to this point. We've expected North Carolina to win all three games that we've played so far, but Hawaii is not like just a horrible team, and especially playing at their place on such a weird time. You don't know how the players are going to adjust to the time zone and flight and all that stuff. It's not going to be just a gimme. Hopefully, again, we win by 20 or whatever, but it's not just a D3 school or something that they're playing here. So it would be great to watch. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't know that I'm going to stay up with the slim chance of getting a bad stream, or knowing I'm not going to be able to watch it on TV,
right.
Which kind of stinks. So I don't know a lot about Hawaii besides that it will be a decent game. Will be interesting to see them play at this time. You got any insight on Hawaii here?
Don't know much about Hawaii. I do know that they're going to be playing 1 a.m. Eastern time, so that's what their bodies are used to. So I don't know about that. They just got off a 10-hour flight last night, so they're probably all jumbled up there. So I guess we'll see how it affects them.
Yes, and that will lead us right into next Monday night, which is the Maui Invitational. So they should by then be used to the time zone, but on Monday night we will start the Maui Invitational against Chaminade. I don't know if that means we're the technically top-ranked team. I think it does, that the top-ranked team usually gets to play Chaminade in the first round. And this one will be at 11:30 Eastern on ESPN2. So we'll improve a little bit from that 1 a.m. Eastern time. But if you're on the Eastern time zone, you're going to be up till 1:30, 2 o'clock to watch the end of this Chaminade game. Are you going to be watching the Chaminade game, Megan?
We will see. We will see. It'll be on ESPN2, I believe. So it'll be there. Might try to watch a little bit of it. Got to work the next morning though. So
yes, that's the difference between the Hawaii game and the
right.
Chaminade. Hawaii leads into Saturday. This one is, and we play again the next night. So
right, yeah.
It's even hard to DVR and then get that game watched before the next one starts. But I'm just going to throw this out here. What do you know about Chaminade?
I think they're unbeaten. That's about it.
You got me beat then, because I did not know that.
I think they're 2-0. I don't know who they've played, but that's about all I know.
Again, you can correct me if you know more than this, but I believe Chaminade's a D2 school, so they've probably played, other D2 schools. But
right.
Yeah, we should be able to handle Chaminade on Monday night. I'm on Central Time, so I may stay up at least for at least half of it, and we'll see. Hopefully we're blowing them out by then, and I'll go to bed. But Chaminade, and then barring something crazy, we will play the winner of UConn and Oklahoma State on Tuesday. Time is still to be announced. Obviously, it matters if we win or lose, or all that of what time, so they can't put that on the schedule. And this one will still be televised on either ESPN or ESPN2. I'm guessing it's ESPN if we win, ESPN2 if we lose. Any preference in who we play between UConn and Oklahoma State?
Well, I don't think UConn's doing too hot this year. I think they've got upset. I think both of their games they've played, if I'm not mistaken. But we should be able to, handle either one of them. I think Oklahoma State, I think they're 4-0. And obviously they haven't played some, that big of schools. But I think I glanced at their scores, and the least amount of points they've put up is 102. So they're scoring. That's the least. So
that should be an entertaining game then if we can.
Yeah, so they're scoring some points there.
So if people don't know, the field for Maui Invitational is obviously us and Chaminade, and then we will play UConn or Oklahoma State in the third round, and then the other half of the bracket is Georgetown, Oregon, Tennessee, and Wisconsin. And you mentioned Oregon's woes already. They lost to, I don't remember who the first game was. The second one was Northeastern, but both of them much smaller teams, and being the 18th ranked preseason team, UConn expected to come in 2-0. They're 0-2. Oregon is missing their best player, Dylan Brooks, but they still expected to be competitive. Ended up losing by 20 to Baylor the other night. Tennessee, we mentioned, already lost to Chattanooga at home by 13. And Wisconsin lost big to Creighton. It was at Creighton's place and can be a tough place to play, but I think a lot of people expected Wisconsin to win that. So as you mentioned, Oklahoma State still undefeated, and then us coming in, and I guess Chaminade are the three undefeated teams coming into Maui. But for a nice field, a little bit lackluster in the start here. So I guess we can hope for an Oklahoma State game in the second round. What about on Wednesday, which again, depending on how we win and stuff, will determine what station we play on and what time. But any preference between Georgetown, Oregon, Tennessee, or Wisconsin?
Really no preference. I haven't really looked that far ahead. Hopefully we can play with any of them. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I guess it would be a little disappointing if we played Tennessee, knowing that we'll see them in a couple weeks in Chapel Hill. Oregon I think would have been fun if they would have been at full strength. Wisconsin, I mean, we lost, what was that, 2 years ago? We lost to them in the Final Four, or heading to the Final Four, so could get a little revenge, but totally different game. It's always a little interesting playing Wisconsin with the style of play they have too. You never know, how much you're actually going to score, how much they're going to let you get out and run and play. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see with all those teams kind of struggling going in, who we see in that third round. Hopefully we are 5-0 heading into that game Wednesday. But stay tuned. And that's about what we got. Anything else as far as schedule goes that you need to throw in there?
I don't think so.
All right. So before we close this podcast out, a question I want to start asking all my guests here on the podcast is, and I threw it on their Twitter, got a pretty good response, but if you could change one thing about the program or the surroundings of the North Carolina Tar Heel program, what would it be?
I think I would change some of the fan support. I don't think the fan support is as strong as it could be. I was at the exhibition game against UNCP, and people didn't even start rolling in until halftime. And, I realize it's exhibition and it's against UNCP, but, we're runners up, national championship. So you would think that we'd have a little more support. I heard there wasn't as many people at Late Night with Roy as there could have been. Then even, watching these past couple games on TV, there's tons of seats available. So I think the fan support could get a little better in our student section as well. That could probably help. Yeah, student section has been a big one. When I threw it on Twitter, getting a better student. I don't know that there's a whole lot we can do about it at this point, but it definitely hurts someone in Tennessee that can't get to Chapel Hill as often to see those empty seats and those lower level empty seats in the Dean Dome. It definitely hurts. So the next podcast, I will probably take Thanksgiving weekend off because those first 3 days are going to be game days, and we kind of talked about those already.
and then obviously Thanksgiving weekend. So I'm looking at the next podcast after next week. But everybody, I want to thank you for listening. If you're not already, subscribe, tell a Tar Heel fan or family member that doesn't know about it. Share the podcast around, and let's unite Tar Heel Nation together. Always asking for more diehard Tar Heel fans to come on the podcast and discuss the Heels. It wasn't so bad, was it, Megan?
Not at all.
All right, so hit me up. Again, all the links to connect with me will be in the description, as well as the link to Megan's Twitter. Go tell her how great of a job she did. And everybody have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Megan, thank you so much for coming on. Any parting words for Tar Heel Nation?
No, just thanks for having me, and go Heels.
That's right. Always remember, go Heels.